And
all we're seeing is the ROVs hovering around the riser.
And how far away do you think the hole is from the riser?
Well, we don't. All we know is the following: is that as soon as the fires erupted, the guy that was driving the Transocean rig courageously stayed at his joystick and drove the rig 1,600 feet away from the fire, so that 121 men could safely jump in the water and not burn to death before he burned to death. And then for 2 days, all those water, boats, they weren't trying to put the fire out. They were basically trying to move the rig further and further away so that it wouldn't sink, but it still sunk. So the rig might be 10 miles away
from the hole. I see. And
attached to the rig floor is the riser.
I see.
So, but it's that because the riser base is built into the rig floor like a manhole cover welded in.
Mm-hmm.
But it also disconnects from the blow-up preventer. So if they have to move in a hurricane, they just disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this dangling mile-long, section that was packed with condensate. That's what's been slowly leaking out. It looks big because of the sort of artificial distortion of the strobe light.
So that's just a sleight of hand. It's a minor distraction.
Sleight of hand is an understatement.
Right.
It's the biggest cover-up we've ever seen.
And is there and you're dubious, Matthew Simmons, that the relief well will?
Well, I know technically that without casing, a relief well cannot work.
So
it's just a technical fact. It's like saying if you don't have a steering wheel on your car and don't have any wheels, you can't drive the car.
So if we discount the possibility of the relief well, let's just go ahead a few weeks from now. If we discount the possibility that the relief well, which they'll announce in a few weeks, has struck and that it's not going to work, at what point?
It'll be only the 45th announcement that something was going to work didn't.
Right. That much I know, but I'm trying to think about how they can continue this.
The only thing we can do that's ever been technically done before in an instance like this is create a very small diameter, low-level nuclear device and insert it with a rod down 18,000 feet and set it off, and you fuse the rock into glass. And it's totally safe.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I talked to a fellow called Nordyke from Livermore Labs, who was on the Plowshares program back in the 60s and described how the Soviets put out 5 gas wells with the.
I grew up in Utah, and when I was in grade school, they were doing open air testing of the hydrogen bombs, and that's when all the people in St. George got cancer.
Right.
So they went underground, and for 20 years under Yucca Mountain, they set off all sorts of hydrogen bombs, and it didn't even cause tremors in Las Vegas.
Well,
and this is 3 miles under the seabed.
Well, it seems to me that he'd mentioned, by the way, Milo Nordyke, he mentioned it takes months to get the explosive device together, assuming that you
that's exactly what a senior military person told me earlier this week, is the Navy does not have one of those in their toolkit.
Right. And for some reason or other, the Navy's not sent a submarine down there to find out where this damn hole is.
Well, they first of all, until very recently, everybody believed the big lie.
Well,
even when the research vessels were sent out by NOAA, the only reason NOAA got kind of because they started saying, why, if it's 1,000 barrels a day or 5,000 barrels a day, why are all these streaks showing up, these ugly orange streaks? And when they sent the first 2 research vessels out, BP cried like a stuck pig, saying, there aren't any plumes. We've already searched that out. This is just a diversion from us actually correcting the riser leak.
Well, but Matthew Simmons, surely when the lie is exposed, that the relief well doesn't stop it. And it continues. The pollution continues to come up. 120,000 barrels a day, by the information you provided us with, but NOAA's count. Okay, so, but at this point, when do we get the truth? Because you can't deny it.
I sense from just conversations that I'm having with more and more senior people that we're pretty dubious for a month or so that I was being an alarmist, and they're now saying, Jesus, this is just stunning. I think that basically the walls are starting to cave in on BP, because there's only so many things you can make up.
But will the walls cave in on President Obama? Is he being?
No, I sure hope not, because I don't think that's. I mean, I'm a 4th-generation Republican, but I think one of the things that the administration needs to do is bring in, like our former presidents to head up a commission, so we take the politics totally out of this.
So the bottom line is he's being lied to, and he has been lied to from day one.
Yeah. And I think unfortunately, when he said tough words like "we're going to stand on their neck" and I want $20 billion of their dollars, some of our fine conservatives basically call him a communist.
Right.
There's also one of my really close friends in Washington, D.C., Wayne Gibbons, who was the head of the U.S. Oil and Gas Association for almost 20 years, who totally agrees with my sentiments on this, said that he's polled a lot of his Washington energy friends, and 2/3 of them or more think this is a green conspiracy to tarnish BP.
Well, already the president says that this is the worst environmental disaster in U.S. history. But what you're telling us,
I'm saying global history.
You're telling us that this is beyond that by a factor of what?
And now the health problem is so serious, and I think now the scientists are. I mean, too many people are now getting ill.
So,
and the reason they're so intensely studying all these dead mammals and fish and birds is to try to figure out, why did they die? And I guess from the New York Times had a big story about this today, and and it sort of it said, well, I guess it's basically when you inhale methane, you just die.
Well, I just find it extraordinary, though, Matthew Simmons, that we've had this sleight of hand, and now they've had, in this big theatrical announcement today, they've closed off this irrelevant little cap on this irrelevant leak. And the big leak that everybody's in denial about is belching out 120,000 barrels a day. How long before people find this thing?
I think their days are numbered.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the number of people that are starting to say, enough's enough.
Well, but this is a crime against the planet, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. This rivals World War II.
And let's assume, Matthew Simmons, that we have this wake-up call soon and we recognize what the real problem has been all along.
Yeah.
What do we do?
I don't know, because it really is very complicated to figure out any way to actually soak up the lake of poisonous oil. Now, had BP done what a company like Exxon or Chevron or Total would have done, in my opinion, and that's the day of this happened, say this was just a terrible, terrible disaster. The BOP blew out, the casing blew out, it's an open hole. We think it's spilling someplace between 100 and 120,000 barrels a day, which they could have done. Then, for the last 90 days, we could have basically taken all of the super tankers that are offloading on Loop, which is the Louisiana offshore loading port, and they're going back to the Middle East empty, and taken them over and with large diameter pipes pumped up this oil, and also, by this time we would have had a bomb, and we could have probably solved the problem, but we didn't.
There's an old adage that the cover-up is worse than the crime.
Yeah. And once you get into the big lie, you just can't get out.
This is really extraordinary. I mean, this keeps you up. I imagine it's been keeping you up at night.
Well, it certainly takes a lot of my time.
So just to give us a sense then of the wake up call, and you're saying that the best solution would have been all along to use these tankers. And John Hofmeister, I interviewed him a while back. He
was on that the first week.
He was on that exactly.
And again, John's been one of the few people besides me that has been speaking out about this very courageously.
And so, short of that, is there any way to plug this hole short of a nuclear weapon?
Nope.